Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Andy, and I'm with Integrity Data Insights, and I help other companies with their data needs, reporting, analytics, and custom digital transformation work as well. And I'm so glad to have my guest with me, Sarah. Cannot speak today. Sarah Harkleroad. Is that right? It's funny
That's
because
all
I
right.
know
You got it,
Sarah.
Andy. Yep.
We've talked a lot, but I've never had to say your last name. So Sarah Hackle Road, man.
Harkle
I have a
Road. Yep.
daughter named Sarah too, so I'm not doing too good so far. But Sarah is the co-founder at Dayor Design, and Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Andy. Glad to be here.
So Sarah and I met, I guess, a little over a year ago when I approached Sarah and team about redoing my website, and this is their work right here with my logo. So I thought it'd be a great, I try to have a lot of B2B professionals on, and I thought like with what you do and the work that you do with website design and marketing and other services, you'd be a great fit for the audience here. Um, so Sarah, I guess your team does kind of a lot of design work with websites, mine included. Maybe go through what are a couple of the things that you notice, like when you take a look at a website, somebody's website, what are things that you find that people are either doing wrong or they're kind of missing an opportunity on?
hmm Yeah, good question, Andy. I think there's a few different kind of categories of things that we typically see, and then I'll kind of drill down to a few examples. But one, just a lot of websites aren't organized very well. People will start their website and then just kind of like bolt on pages or sections as their business evolves, but they haven't really taken that strategic approach to how do we want to organize our site? What do we want those user journeys to look like? And things like that. So typically the way that shows up is like the website's going to be cluttered. Maybe it has too much information or too much information all kind of at one level where it's just overwhelming for people. And a lot of times like that site navigation is either unclear or they try to use like clever words in the navigation that makes it not very intuitive for people. So those are some of the things in terms of like site organization. And then that also trickles down into messaging. Like a lot of times the messaging isn't clear, the services aren't clear. People don't know how to engage with the business or take the next step with like a clear call to action. Or sometimes even there's a disconnect just visually between the brand and then the website design when you think about like colors and fonts and things like that, and just the use of the logo on the website. So there's a lot of different things, but typically it's just big picture. Clients don't take a very strategic, holistic approach when they do their website. So it just kind of starts to evolve over time and kind of deteriorate over time if they're not careful.
That's great. Yeah, I can speak from experience because my website,
Yeah.
I kind of fell into doing my own thing. I wasn't like a super planned out thing. And kind of, I mean, I spent a little bit of time cranking it out there, didn't spend as much
Mhm.
time as I like. And then I remember probably the biggest takeaway I remember was the call to action. Like, wait a minute. Oh,
Yeah.
you're supposed to have a call to action. Like, I don't know. It seems so obvious, but originally I didn't even have one. And I know we're going to show my
Yeah.
website in a minute also. But that was one that I was, I was surprised. One other thing I
Mhm.
want to ask you about is I think one of the surprises for me when partnering with you with and your team on the website was kind of all of the things that it made me think about that I didn't, necessarily, I was expecting you to, hey, what kind of design do you like? And then you guys would kind of do
Mhm.
your own thing and I wouldn't, have to be that involved. But obviously that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I guess maybe let's start with a little bit of what kind of questions do you ask, or what kind of things would
Mhm.
a business owner be prepared to kind of have answers for, like when
Yeah.
you're looking to redo their website?
Yeah, and Andy, you're pretty typical, honestly. We work with a lot of small businesses, and most people kind of like, I just need a simple website update or simple website design. That's what they're thinking. And then as soon as we start asking a few questions, it turns into like a soul searching exercise where they're like, why did I start my business? Do I have a mission, vision, values? Who is my target market? How do I want to package my service? Like it opens up all those questions. So,
Right, it
so
did.
yeah,
But I feel like that was one of the most valuable parts coming out of it. Obviously, I think the website's beautiful, and I think and we'll show it in just a second here.
yeah,
But I feel like that was like, wait a minute, okay, here are the 10 services I do, because I kind of had to think back, okay, for this client, I've
yeah.
done this kind of thing differently. And it
Mhm.
kind of made me synthesize it, I guess, and make me kind of
Yeah.
like, and how do I want to be known? Like, what, do I want to be known as, super serious, or do I
Mhm.
want to be known as, how do I want to be known? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so those are all things some of a few clients have thought through those things when they come to us. Most have not. They're just thinking about their website design and how do I make it look good and make it work better. But what we've realized is we're doing our clients a disservice if we're not asking those questions and at least helping them think through them to the level that they want to. Because it's like, yeah, you want your website to look great, but people need to know, what are your services? How can they work with you? What's your process? What's your call to action? What's the next step? And if we aren't baking those things into your site design and structure and user journey, you just have a good looking website, but it's not actually moving the needle for your business. And so we want to make sure we kind of take that strategic approach on that side of things, help kind of at least ask the right questions for our clients so that they're thinking through those things when we do update the website, because ultimately they'll end up in a better spot when we do that. So but
great.
it is fun to kind of work through those questions, and we get different responses from different clients, want to dive into it more or not. But the ones who do, I think it's more helpful. So
Yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, that was one of
Mhm.
the biggest added benefits of doing it. Well, let
Yep.
me show. I'm going to
Yeah.
oops, going to try to show my there we go. Let's do this. Nope, that's not right.
There you
Here we
go.
go. So yeah, and I'll drive the website, but maybe just walk us through what we're seeing. This is my website that you guys helped redesign. I think I launched it late last year. But yeah, just walk us through it, and I can navigate or
Yeah.
whatever you want to, however you want to show it.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Well, first of all, we're here on kind of the initial view. A few of the things we want to do is first just aesthetically, like brand consistency. So you'll notice your brand colors, kind of those three colors in that in your logo. That then show up on the website. We use kind of that aqua color for your consistent call to action color. So anything that's like clickable or that we want people to kind of engage with on the site, just being consistent there really makes for a more intuitive user journey on the site. So people know where to click, where to go. And so some of those things, just kind of connecting the dots between the logo, the colors, the fonts, design, styling, and then even the imagery that we chose for your website, making sure that reinforces your brand color palette, aligns with your industry, will resonate with your target market. So those are a lot of like the visual side of things that we want to make sure that we're just really minding the details for you or for any of our clients on the website. Another thing too, if you start to just barely scroll down, you'll notice that the menu sticks at the top of the homepage. And so that's an important thing too. You'd be surprised how many websites the menu disappears as soon as you scroll down the site. And then people have
Right.
to go back up to the top to get to the pages. And so just little things like that in terms of like the sticky menu that help make sure your call to action is always within view. No matter where somebody is on the website, they can see that schedule a consultation button. And that's one of the things with, I think, Andy, you came to us as a lot of our clients do. They're familiar with StoryBrand and want to integrate some elements of that
Correct.
into the website. And so that consistent call to action, it tells your clients how can they participate with your business? Like what's that first step? And so that's something you want to be in view no matter where you are on the website. So that's an important piece there. And then also, let me see here, a couple of things like that, kind of creating the social proof with showing kind of logos of some of your clients. I think that's a piece that's always nice when
Yeah. Yeah.
that's something we can integrate for sure. Um, and then let me see here.
I
Oh,
like
were you going to say
to
something,
just
Andy?
point out too, like I think you guys came up with the dominate your data, which I think is a great,
Mhm.
just a great kind of short. I don't know if that'd be called a tagline. I'm not sure the lingo,
Yeah. Yeah. And
but I
that
like
kind
that
of
one
speaks to the
too.
story brand piece because really most small businesses, they position themselves as the hero of the story, and their client is the person who needs them. And so, what we try to do is turn that around, focusing on kind of integrating the story brand methodology, which if you're familiar with it. I don't know if your
Yeah.
audience is, but what you want to do is position your client as the hero. And so for you, you're helping your clients dominate their data. And whether if it's a bookkeeper, like get control of your numbers, just different things like that. And then you're really, Andy, the guide that comes alongside your clients and helps them reach their goals. And so we wanted to make sure that we're speaking directly to your target market with your messaging, dominate your data. And then also that it's something that feels empowering for them. Like, yeah, I want to dominate my data. Okay, let me schedule a consultation so I can get that started. And so it just helps kind of engage the users on your website where they can see themselves in the story, as opposed to you just kind of blasting them with information about why you're awesome and why they should work with you. And so it's just a very different approach in terms of messaging and in
Yeah,
terms of
that's
the
great.
engagement as well.
Apologize. That's why I was leaning over because I thought the book was right there, but it's not. But
Oh,
yeah,
you're
it's a
good.
really life-changing book. If you haven't checked it out, I think it's by Donald Miller.
Yep.
Yeah, it just kind of makes you think differently about it. Like, and I think yeah, it's a very great read if you haven't checked it out. Yeah, and there's the call to action, which was, like I said, missing heavily from from what I
Yep.
had before. So yeah,
Well, and
probably
even, can I speak to your navigation real quick, Andy?
yeah, go ahead. It's great.
So one of the most underestimated pages on a website is the about page. When we look at analytics for our clients, a lot of people visit that page. They want to know, especially small businesses, who am I working with? And so that's a really important page, just to make sure you're not overlooking that. Some of our clients want to do full like team headshots and bios. Other ones want to keep it more company level info. So we kind of talk them through pros and cons there. But the about page is one of the first things people will go to on your website. And then after they're there, and what we want kind of that, your homepage is that welcome mat to your website that leads people deeper into the site. And then as you kind of go through the navigation, they want to see who's Andy, who's this company, what do they do? So then we go to the services pages where we've got kind of your two big categories of services. And really each page is designed to lead people to that next step in the user journey, with all roads then leading to that schedule a consultation. So just again, taking a strategic approach to how we lay out the information, how we think about how somebody's going to use the site. Most people aren't going to jump on here and read every single word. And so we want it to be easy for them to quickly see like, okay, what do I need? Business intelligence, or I want, data analytics, or just navigating to the piece that resonates with them or would best meet their needs. So hopefully that makes sense as I kind of walk through that.
Yeah. No, this is great. Yeah, thanks for pointing those out. Yeah, I think, you guys did a great job of it and really kind of encapsulated a lot of what I do.
Yep.
Probably one of my favorite pages, I guess we could talk about, is the case studies. That was kind of
Yeah.
this is probably the page that I direct people to most, like after I've had a
Uh-huh.
conversation or such. And I kind of, everyone know, what have you done? Give me a real story of what you've done. So we put it together, a few case studies
Yeah.
here. So this is probably one of my favorite pages of the site. So
Yep. And you did a great job of that, Andy, of getting those together. And some of our clients have those ready to go. Other ones, it seems absolutely overwhelming to get client videos or things like that. So just kind of know yourself and your clients as far as what's realistic there. At the very least, I would say having testimonials on your website is really good. That's pretty easy. Most clients can get 3 to 5 testimonials. So like start there. But then like for you, we also did the logo scroller that highlights some of your clients, that are going to be some recognizable brands in the greater Dayton area. But then also then showing actual videos of people. It's like, okay, this is good. And I think we included 3 on your site. It's good to have a little bit of variety there because different
correct.
people in your target market will see themselves in different stories. And so they'll see, okay, that one applies to me. And so it just helps to have a little bit of variety there just so you can make sure that there is something useful for, for different people depending on their business or their needs.
Great. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, you guys did a tremendous job. I'll click the call to action just so you can see what this is like. But yeah, this is kind of integrated into my calendar, so then people can just pick a time and within a couple steps and can instantly book a meeting. I've used this. I always check people to this whenever I'm, having a conversation back and forth. I'll just send them the direct link, and then they pick a time, and then we're all set. So this is a great feature to have also.
Yeah, and even that
Anything
we
else
use
you want to walk
Calendly
through?
Oh, go ahead.
Correct. No, anything else you want to walk through with the site or?
And no, I think that's it mostly. I was just going to say we use Calendly for your site. We use it for our business. A lot of our clients use that. It does, especially for
Yeah.
our clients are anywhere from solopreneurs, like one person businesses, all the way up from there. So a lot of times, if it's a one or two person business, it's really helpful to have something like Calendly that just makes the scheduling automatic. And so there's kind of different tools or plugins we can use there, just kind of depending on the business and what the in-house capabilities or skill set or bandwidth is of the client or what they're looking to automate as well. So there's a lot of different tools there, just depending on the business.
Great. Yeah, but you guys did a great job. So it's been great working with you
Thank
guys,
you.
and highly recommend you for anybody else that needs logo refresh, website design. You guys were really great to work with. So shout out.
Thanks, Amy.
So my next question, I guess, is always on my, I've design, I guess, can kind of be subjective, right? And kind of like, when you're refreshing someone's brand, or how do you kind of know? I mean, I know that. How do you know, like, okay, this is what they're kind of looking for, or maybe what questions do you ask, or so maybe tell us a little bit about that process that goes through kind of design in general.
Yeah, you are right. Design can be very subjective. We've learned a few things. Some of them we've learned the hard way over the years. We celebrated 13 years in business this year, and
Awesome.
I think our latest count, I think we're just over 650 small businesses across the country that we've worked with, and so I feel like we've just about seen it all in terms of different industries, different client personalities, different stages of business, different incoming problems. And so with each one, we take kind of a continuous improvement mindset in terms of what questions do we ask. We try to see around corners for our clients. And so a few of the things that we do to really help streamline the process is one, we ask a lot of questions up front. The better we can get to know you as the client, the better we can get to know your goals for your business, maybe your vision for your brand or any design preferences that you have, the better work we can do for you. And so we do a pretty in-depth questionnaire and then kickoff call up front. And so that really helps us really capture kind of the essence of your business and where you wanted to go with your brand and everything like that right up front. And we're always refining and improving those questions as we go. If we see like, okay, here's an opportunity to capture a little different angle on this or this, we will do that just so that we can, like I said, kind of see around corners for our clients and just making sure that we're asking the right questions to draw out the right information. For us, we've done this, over 650 times, but for a lot of our clients, it's their first time thinking through a brand or a website. And so as professionals, it's our job to make sure we're really drawing out and kind of bringing to the surface the right information there to make sure our client's going to be happy with where they land. So a couple of things we do too in terms of just design being subjective. Some of our clients are very visual. They're like, I can't tell you in words what I want, but I'll know it when I see it. And so we just bake 2 rounds of revisions into our process at each stage. So at the logo design, the website homepage, the full website, any print materials we're doing. And so that way we have plenty of collaboration touch points that are already baked into the process to gather our clients' feedback. So that way, if we send them something and it's maybe they want to tweak it a little bit, that's okay. It's part of the process. Once you can kind of see it, we kind of get those initial pieces on the board, and then we can just move those and refine them until it's just how our clients want. Every once in a while, we get a logo approved, like right out of the gate, like no updates, or same thing with a website. It feels amazing when that happens, but we don't expect that every time. Most clients take advantage of maybe 1 or 2 rounds of revisions at each stage. And that's fine. That's part of the process. Yeah. And we want them to be happy with where they land. And so having that collaborative approach is really important to us.
I would think you ever have because I don't do design work, but I do, video work and other things for people. And sometimes, there's a creative aspect to it or with reporting and such. Do you ever have it where it's like, man, why would you pick that one? That's not the right one. I guess you kind of just have to bow down to what they're thinking. But
yeah, so they actually taught me this in school, and I was like, no, that's not true. The client, if you present 3 options to the client, they always pick the worst one. And I'm like, no, it's so true. And so what we do, I'm like, we're not going to present anything that we're hoping the client doesn't pick. Like if it's a bad idea, it's a bad idea. So it's
Right.
like we try to only put good options in front of our clients and not like, well, you're paying for 3 options, so we'll come up with 3, but we're going to pray you don't pick this one because they'll pick that one. And so what we do instead is say, okay, let's focus on quality over quantity. Like if we're doing a logo, if there's 2 concepts that emerge, great, we'll show them both to you. But a lot of times what we'll do is kind of show our work on the way, like, hey, we explored this and we explored this, and this doesn't work for this reason, and this doesn't work for this reason. This one's the stronger one for these reasons. So you'll see us develop this one, and kind of like opening the curtain so the clients can see the design process really helps them feel confident in where we landed and what our recommendation is. And then if they say, no, I want to revisit these colors or these fonts, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
We can do that, but just kind of showing our work and walking them through the decisions that we made really helps them arrive at the best spot with their brand or their website.
Right.
But yeah, we quit showing concepts that we don't we
That
don't
you don't
want.
want them to pick. That's funny. I
Or
never thought of that.
sometimes we have clients who will just, it's our job to make our clients aware of best practices. And if they choose to venture outside of those for whatever reason, pick a color that's not really going to resonate with their target market, or a font that's a little tricky to read for their logo, or, whatever.
Yeah.
It's our job to make them aware of best practices and make them aware of the trade-offs if they choose to kind of paint outside the lines or go outside those best practices. And then that way they're making informed decisions. So if the client asks for something that we're like, ew, probably you're going to regret that, we just, hey, that's going to limit your brand in these ways, or that for your website, this might frustrate people if we get too clever with this language and they can't find what they're looking for or whatever. And then at the end of the day, they're the client. It's their call, but it is our job to make them aware. Nobody wants to feel like we're twisting their arm into, landing in a certain spot with their brand or website. They need to feel like it's theirs. And so we just try to help coach them through to the best outcomes that we can. So that's kind of our approach there.
Oh, thanks for sharing. That's great. Want to change topics slightly, maybe not quite on the design, but just in general. If you read like the Story Brand we're talking about, or anybody kind of in marketing, they'll talk about, I guess, the concept of kind of a transitional offer. I think a lot of people call it different things, but basically it's kind of it's a low barrier to entry, or low, it's an easy offer for someone to get to. And I'm still working on this for my own business, because obviously scheduling consultation, not that that's, it's not tons, but it's not as simple as, just downloading a PDF or something as well. But I just want to talk about that concept a little bit. Kind of, what do you recommend? I mean, obviously every business is going to be different, but maybe just talk about the importance of what that is, and how people can benefit from that.
Yeah, I'd say a couple components, Andy, of a successful transitional call to action would be one, just starting the conversation. So it needs to be a low enough barrier to entry to where someone's like, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to, this service or this company, but this feels like a low barrier to entry, like conversation starter or, commitment. So that's one thing. And then also needs to give you an opportunity to demonstrate your expertise back to your target client. And so you need to make sure you have those components in there when you're thinking through a transitional call to action, just to kind of get into some specifics there. I'll even start with our business, one that we do. So we do free website audits for small businesses. And so it's an upfront time investment. Like we got to spend time on somebody's website, kind of going through that, putting together some notes, everything like that, jumping on a meeting and going through that with them. So we might have a few hours invested in that, and we don't know, are they going to be a client at the end of that or not? Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But it's a great way to start the conversation with potential clients, even if they're not ready to transition into, okay, I'm ready to overhaul my website. It just gets them thinking about, some ways that their site's holding their business back, some ways they can make it better to drive their business forward, and some things that maybe weren't even on their radar before. So whether we end up working with that client or whether they work with somebody else, our goal is at the very least to make sure that they leave that audit with some value, and that we're pointing them in the right direction to things that can strengthen their online presence. So we do that. We offer that for free for small businesses that reach out to us there. It does help too when clients just don't even know where to start. Like, I know my website's a problem, but I don't know where to start. This feels overwhelming. It just kind of breaks the ice for that initial conversation. I
Yeah.
like audits because they're very helpful. And frankly, if you're a service provider, it's probably like a component of your service up front where you need to spend time on the website and identify what the issues are. And so it's a great way to kind of start the conversation, do a little bit of like get to know who your potential client is, provide some value for them, demonstrate your expertise. And that would go really for a lot of different industries. Doing some sort of audit is a good one, or some
Yeah.
sort of report, maybe an upfront like game plan or like a marketing game plan if you're in the marketing industry, or some sort of like efficiency game plan if you're trying to help your clients be more efficient, or putting something like that together can be good. And it doesn't always have to be free. Sometimes having a little bit of skin in the game is not necessarily a bad thing. So maybe it's just at a relatively low price point,
Right.
something that again just kind of breaks the ice, but that will also screen out, tire kickers. If you're like, okay, I want to make sure somebody's serious before I put all this work in up front. Having a low cost
Mhm.
can be advantageous there as well. Um, does that
Yeah,
answer
that's great.
your question,
Yeah,
Andy?
that's great. Yeah, it makes me the wheels have always been spinning on that
Yeah.
for me because I've kind of still feel like I think one of the challenges in my business is like you're dealing with people's data, it's
Hmm.
sensitive. It's like then you kind of have to go in. You don't. So I've been trying to
Hmm.
work on this. So I have a couple ideas I've kicked around, but I haven't pulled the trigger on it. But this is great. It really makes me
Yeah.
really think about it. Um,
Another thing too, because you had mentioned a download. Um, doing My father-in-law's in the construction industry, got a business in the Dayton area. And so one of the things they had done years back was like a resource they put together that was like 7 pitfalls of construction projects. Like these are the most common mistakes people in our target market make. And even that's a great resource, like doing something like that where there's no information coming back from your lead or from your target market there, in terms of them sharing sensitive data or something like
yeah,
that. But
I love
it
that.
can be where they add their email address or something, and then you'll send that to them, and then maybe you send them a link to say, hey, if you have questions about this, let's jump on a call and kind of talk through this. Something again, just so it's a conversation starter,
Yeah,
that you could do, and even rotate, doing some A/B testing, like rotating some out, like, okay, let me try this one for a quarter and see, do people care about this? And then,
yeah.
okay, let me do a different one for next quarter. And you can kind of see which ones are more effective, and just taking that approach there as well.
That's great. One other point I wanted to
Mhm.
talk about was, and something I think I've learned from you as part of the process too, is that I've tried to do on and off is a lot of your communication or your team's communication will be via video. So you guys will like
Mhm.
record something, you'll highlight, hey, this is, like when, like say for instance, when you were working on this logo, I think
Yep.
you guys probably, you recorded a video, you walked me through it, you talked, and said, hey, any questions, let me know. But that was like a great kind of
Yeah.
a communication method. It got, even before, and that's the reason I brought that up was kind of like when you're talking about these transitional offers is you can kind of it gives a person a preview of what it's like to
Yeah.
work with you, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody, there's people you like working with better than others, and you kind of get a sense of that. So I just wanted
Mhm.
to call that out because that was a really good like it was like, wow, I didn't realize I could do this. And then I did,
Yeah.
I started doing
Thank
that.
you.
So,
Yeah,
um,
and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, even if you're B2B, you're still working with people. And people work
uh,
with people they wanna work with, and it should be fun to work with you. And so, and they need to feel that you care about them and their business and their success. And so doing some of that comes through better in video than just email. And especially, I mean, if you're in person, that's great. But also if you work with clients all over like we do, with some local clients, we'll meet in person. But other than that, it's a lot of video. It's our way to still
yeah,
be present and accessible to our clients, and remind them that they're working with real people, as opposed to just everything through email. So,
yeah,
yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
it's great. I've used that. So it's a great
Mhm.
tip for those of you who haven't you tried using video to kind of communicate with someone.
Well,
One next thing I want to talk about is social media.
yep.
And I've been putting myself out there a lot more this year than normal, but
Mhm.
just maybe what tips do you have for, I mean, specifically, I guess for B2B, but it could be for anybody, how often should someone be posting? What kind of things what are some kind of what's your take on
Mhm.
social media and what someone should be thinking about?
Mhm. I would say for small businesses, especially, social media at some level is important. And we've seen that with our own business. There have been times we've gotten really busy and we're like, I'll just skip the social media post this month. And then I'll have people in my net like, are you guys doing okay? What, something happened. I'm like, yeah, we've actually just been really busy. So we haven't. And so people do pay attention to it. And I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised when they do, but it is kind of interesting. Like, okay, it is worth it. Um,
Yeah, I
one
had a
thing I
guy
would say.
yesterday. I was walking out of church yesterday, a guy I knew, and he was he just like we, said hi real quick, and then I was like halfway walking away, and he like stopped and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I really love you that stuff you're doing on LinkedIn. Keep that up
Yeah.
or whatever." And I was like, "Oh
Uh-huh.
wow."
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was
I've
kind of
had the
cool.
same thing happen. Yeah. So you're like, okay, people aren't paying attention to it. And so with that, with social media, it can also be overwhelming very quickly. It's like there's all these platforms and all different guidelines of how often you should post and what types of posts, and you should be doing these over here, this. And
Yeah.
I would say, first of all, understand where's your target market and maybe even pick one platform to start with and say, I'm going to master this platform instead of trying to do Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and, X and TikTok and Pinterest, like all of the things. Just say, okay, if you're B2B, it's probably LinkedIn, just say start here.
Right.
And then you can kind of expand from there. Um, so that's one thing is maybe pick one platform to start with if you're overwhelmed. Another one too is the best content strategy is the one you can do consistently. What you don't want to do is say, I'm going to post every single day, and you post every single day for a week and a half, and then you don't post anything for 6 months because it was just too much. And so instead
Correct.
say like, you know what? I'm going to try to post consistently once a week for the next 90 days, something like that. And then you can kind of build on that as, once you get going and say, okay, now let's try twice a week. Or, maybe you settle in even at 3 to 5 times a week. That's probably a good target. But even with that, though, you're better off to post once a week consistently than every day for a week and a half and then disappear. And so just
Yeah.
if you're a busy business owner, you don't have time to spend all day on social media. But you want to remind people you're there. And so I think once a week is kind of that like bare minimum, like effective dose in terms of just kind of popping your head up, doing a post that adds value, engaging with some other accounts and people in your network, and then, come back next week and do your next post. So that's a great place to start for social media. And then let me see, I already kind of mentioned this, but focusing on quality over quantity. Don't feel like you have to be on every platform every day. It's just overwhelming. It's not sustainable for most of our clients. And so just saying, okay, let me do something that actually adds value. Don't just create noise, but add value to your target market. And that's kind of a good place to start there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, a couple points to add. One funny story. I don't remember if I shared with
Mhm.
you this or not, but just recently, like a week ago, my daughter kind of had like I guess a viral video, you would say, on TikTok, which I never even had the platform before.
Uh-huh.
But she did this video with her roommate and her screaming into pillows, like testing I don't. It was a trend. They didn't invent it, but I don't know what it is. But
Okay.
something about it took off. It was super fun to see, like, at
That's great.
first it was funny at first, the perspective is I'll work on these videos or something. I'll work on them for a long time. And sometimes, I'll get maybe 10 likes,
Uh-huh.
something like that. She's like, oh, it's doing okay. It has maybe 500 likes. I'm like, 500 likes. Like, that's more
Yeah.
than, but it is to put it into perspective, because
Mhm.
obviously LinkedIn is very different than TikTok, but
Mhm.
but it was
Mhm.
kind of fun to watch, side note of just her journey of like
Yeah,
how that worked. And she would show me her phone and it has like so many notifications, she couldn't keep up with it. And
that's
um
great.
but it was fun. I haven't had that moment happen yet, but it's
Uh-huh.
not that I'm measuring myself by that, but yeah, just trying to put her into perspective how valuable that is, because I think
Mhm.
out of all the videos and stuff I've ever done, I've never I've never had anywhere close to that.
That's funny. Yeah.
So it's crazy, like over 19 million views or something
Mhm.
ridiculous. So,
Mhm. Wow.
but anyways, yeah. One other point I wanted to point out was, and I think you guys got me started on it. I've kind of carried it on since then, but using a tool like, I think I use Buffer that you
Yep.
guys use, or Hootsuite, or one of those. The nice thing about that is, like, I think yesterday some post went out, or not, maybe not yesterday because of the weekend, but all of
Mhm.
a sudden a post will go out and I'm like, oh yeah, I did schedule that.
Mhm.
Like I'll,
Yeah.
I'll forget, but it's kind of puts it on autopilot so you can kind of keep up with the consistency that you were talking about. So that's another great tip.
That really
Um,
helps, and it helps you batch, like, get in social media mode 1 day a week and say, "Okay, I'm planning out my posts for the next month." And if you're doing 1 a week, that's 4 posts, or if you're doing 2 a week, that's 8 posts, and that's very doable. And then that way those are going out like clockwork, and you get a little break, and then you can come back in and plan for the next month, and trying to stay ahead of the calendar. You don't wanna be like, "Oh, today's my day to post. Quick, let me think of something." And then that comes
yes,
up an emergency the next week and the next week. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Buffer is what we use. Hootsuite's another one. Even on in like Meta, you can schedule posts directly in there. There's some different ways you can do it depending on what platforms you're on.
yeah,
But yeah, some of those scheduling tools are definitely worth it.
great. Um, Shoot, lost my oh, that's what I want to ask about. So tell me about, like, my website does have, a blog, and now I've been posting these interviews and such, but talk about, what are your thoughts on like blogs, newsletters, those kind of things. Is it worth the investment, or tell us some of
Mhm.
some of your experience in those areas.
Yeah, similar to social media, it's kind of focus on quality over quantity. Most people underestimate the amount of work that goes into whether you're doing a blog or a podcast or a newsletter or social media, any kind of like regular content. It's like once you start that, like just don't
Yeah.
sign up for too much. Like just crawl, walk, run. Like just kind of start with something doable and then grow from there. But it is worth it. Different industries will respond better to different tools. One of the benefits of a blog, for example, though, is it's a great way to really establish your industry authority and to kind of engage your target market or to attract new people. Like those can be great for SEO or search engine optimization if you're integrating some of those most effective keywords for your industry into a post. If you think about how people use Google, that a lot of people are typing questions into Google. And so if you can ask and answer questions that are specific to your industry, but if you can ask and answer those questions in a blog post, that's going to help Google pair your website with relevant searches. And so it might be people in your case, Andy, that might not know to search for integrity data insights by name, but they have a question related to their data visualization or whatever, and they're typing that in, and then your blog post comes up, and this year schedule consultation call to action, and then you're off to the races. So that's one tool that can be very effective is doing a blog on a website. And for most of our clients, there are some that we actually publish blog posts for them. We do the research and writing and publication, but keyword optimization for SEO. But typically, like especially if you're doing your own blog, 1 a month is a good target, and focus
Okay.
on quality, make sure it's nice and long, get a lot of keywords in there. And then the most I would recommend is like 1 per week, but that's a pretty heavy lift for most businesses. That's just not doable unless they're completely outsourcing it. Um,
Right.
but 1 a
Yeah.
month is probably where I'd recommend starting there. And then it makes great social media content too. If you do that 1 post a month, push it out on your LinkedIn page, on Facebook. If you have a Google business profile, you can post as a business update there, which helps your local SEO. For Google likes to see activity on those Google business profiles. And so it's kind of one piece that you do, but then it's something you can push out through social media. If we do a post like the 3rd Friday of every month is when we publish for a lot of our clients, we'll push it out on LinkedIn that day. And then 2 weeks later, we'll push it out again with a different caption, a different graphic, but same blog post, so that it's getting visibility in their newsfeed again. And so like that's 2 of your social media posts for a month
Yeah, that's
if you
great.
do that. So
I've
just
I've
coordinating that really helps.
The power of like reusing content is huge. Like I've done that where I do
Absolutely.
this segment where I do drums and data, and then there was a couple
Yeah.
I've done 3 or 4, and I've done blog.
Mhm.
Like you can get a lot of content out of one thing if you work on it. So
For sure. Yep.
one final question, just in the time we have left. What's your thought on AI? I mean, obviously it's not going anywhere, and obviously
Mhm.
with the design industry and what you guys are doing, it's got to be disrupting your industry quite a bit, or or your
Yeah.
clients. Tell us maybe about what your thoughts are. What are you guys using
Mhm.
it, and what you're using it for? Those kind of things.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think so far, you're right. AI is not going away. It's going to continue to get better and better. And so our job is really to see how do we leverage that in a way that's going to help our clients, help us become more efficient, more effective for our clients. And so a couple of things there that our approach with our team has been use AI as a tool, but not as a crutch. So it's not the easy button that some people think like, oh, I don't need to write my blog. I just throw it into AI and I'll spit out a blog post. It's like, does it have your keywords in it? Does it have a call to action? Does it have a good visual hierarchy in terms of use of headings and lists and things like there's still some AI's good and it's getting better, but there's definitely still some gaps. And so what we found is it's best when you can kind of pair a professional with AI. So somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of what are industry best practices and kind of filling in some of those gaps. But AI can help. It's a great tool for research. We use it for keyword research. We can use it to generate ideas for social media content. Sometimes we'll use it we can input information from our clients' questionnaire and kickoff call for their website. And it can help with kind of drafting service write-ups or things like that. But then we still have our copywriter come in, keyword optimize the content, make sure that it flows nicely, that it fits the client's tone of voice and things like that. So it's a good tool that kind of it helps us get further faster, but it's not a replacement for kind of that professional expertise as well.
Yeah. And do you guys use it for any visual? Have you done any visual elements with it or not at this point?
You know what, Andy? I've looked at that a few times. Probably every few months I'll jump in and see, because I know a lot of people we'll have clients come to us and say, hey, I designed my logo in AI. Can you fix it? And so so that's kind of telling to me that's it kind of got what I wanted, but not quite. And anytime I've used it, and even let me look, for research, hey, what are some fun elements you could do with something like this or this? Every time I use it, I my job as a logo designer is still very safe. That's my assessment.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's definitely benefits to it. I mean, at times, but I think it has to be kind of put in its place. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool, but it's I think we've all been to those person's blogs or something, and you can tell it's all AI generated stuff, and it just kind of, I don't know, it gives you a different, I don't know, I think it knocks your brand down a little bit. I think it
cheapens it. A lot of times one of the telltale signs of AI generated content is way too long. You're clearly nobody took the time to write it. That a machine wrote that. And just things like that. We've actually had, I won't name names. We've had a client submit an AI generated professional bio to us. And I'm that's not even your bio. That's just AI. It's all fluff, And so you can spot it pretty quickly. And, as people get more used to it, they'll kind of spot that too. So again, use it as a tool. It is a fantastic tool. It's continuing to get better. And so it's going to grow in relevance. It's more helpful with content writing than it is with visuals. It's kind of my opinion. So far, I think it has more to go on the visual side, especially. But I think it'll get there too. I think so it's something we continue to watch and see how can we leverage that, as it makes sense. So, yeah.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you joining me, Sarah. Thanks so much, and keep up the great work. And how should people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you or what Dayor Design does?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So our website is dayordesign.com. Dayor is just the word road spelled backwards. That comes from my last name, Harkle Road. But dayordesign.com is our website. Our email address is hello@dayordesign.com. So you can always reach out through there. Or you can give us a call as well, and you'll see our number there on the website. So a few different ways. All roads, if you reach out by phone or email, they'll eventually lead to a conversation with me where we can kind of touch base and hear about your business and how we can help you out.
Great. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time to join us, Sarah. Please reach out to her and use her design and marketing expertise. It's been a great experience for me. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Sarah.
Yep. Thanks, Andy.